Hey folks, I have a couple racing seats left over from another project. I turned one of them into an office chair, so that one is spoken for. But the other one is single and available, so let's party. These are Corbeau Forza seats. They're bottom mount seats with slider brackets. And unfortunately, most aftermarket seat brackets are made for side mount seats. Corbeau makes brackets for the E46 BMW, but I didn't buy those. Like I mentioned earlier, these seats came from another project. I had the Corbeau brackets for that car, and I didn't like them. They didn't fit very well, plus they were super heavy and expensive. So I decided to make my own seat brackets. I'm going to make them from heavy gauge aluminum. They should be lighter than the Corbeau brackets, but they'll still be pretty strong. I bought the aluminum from McMaster Car. We're going to be using 2 pieces of angle stock and a piece of square tubing. The angle stock is 1 inch wide on the small side and 2 inches wide on the big side. The square tubing is 3/4 inch wide, and the material is an 1/8 inch thick. Here is a mock-up of how the brackets are going to be put together. The angle stock will form the side brackets, and the square tube will be used to make the cross braces for the seat to sit on. Okay, let's get to work. The construction is pretty straightforward. First the pieces were cut to length, then I drilled all the bolt holes. I tried to get slow-mo footage of the saw spitting out metal chips, but it didn't turn out like I hoped. I didn't film any of the holes being drilled because I thought that would be boring. Get it? Boring? Holes? Anyway, let's fast forward a bit. Here we see the seat bracket being test fitted in the car. I was able to use OEM fasteners to attach it to the floor, but I had to get bolts from the hardware store for everything else. Also, here's an important note about the seat mounting. I noticed the stock seat was not centered on the seat mounting brackets. The seat is offset toward the center of the car, presumably to put it in line with the steering wheel. In this photo, I put a mark in the center of the seat cushion, but if you look at the mounting brackets, they're offset to the side. If I compare the center point of the mounting brackets with the center of the seat, the difference is about 1 3/8 of an inch. When I test fitted the racing seat in the car, I couldn't move the seat over that much because the racing seat is a little bit wider. But I was able to offset the racing seat by about 1 inch. That should be close enough. I mean, what's a few millimeters between friends? Last but not least, I had an unforeseen problem. The handle for the slider mechanism was interfering with the front cross brace, but only slightly. So I added a few washers to shim the seat. That worked great. Okay, so the seat mounting brackets are finished. Also, here you can see how the seat is offset to the side. The stock seat belt isn't going to work with this setup, so instead I'm going to use a 5-point harness. As the name suggests, the harness will have 5 mounting points. The 2 shoulder belts will attach to a harness bar that we'll talk about in a minute. And I decided to attach the other 3 belts to the seat mounting brackets. The seat belts can be bolted directly to the side brackets. I sat in the seat and test fitted the belt to make sure the mounting point is correct. When I found a point I was happy with, I marked it with a Sharpie. Then I drilled the hole and installed the bolt. Also notice I'm using seatbelt mounting bolts. These bolts are specially designed to let the seatbelt swivel to prevent uneven tension on the belt. For the bottom belt, I had a happy little accident. The cross brace just happened to be in the perfect place to loop the belt around it. I'd like to say I planned it that way, but it was pure luck. By the way, here's a quick life hack for making your racing seats more comfortable. Harbor Freight sells these floor mat kits for about $10. They're made out of closed cell foam rubber, and it's about 1/2 inch thick. So for example, if you want a little bit more padding in your racing seat, you can cut out a piece of this foam and stuff it under the seat cushion. Anyway, let's talk about the harness bar. I'm a cheapskate, so I'm always looking for ways to save money. I was having trouble finding an inexpensive harness bar for the E46 BMW, but I saw these ones on eBay for the E36. Some people said they could be made to fit, so I decided to try it out. When I tried to fit the harness bar in the car, I noticed a couple issues. First of all, it's a couple inches too short, so I need to lengthen the bar a couple inches. I noticed the end brackets can swivel, so if I angle the bracket outwards, that should give me the extra length I need. I just need to bend the tip of the bracket so it'll be flush with the car. So I put the brackets in a vise and bent them. First, I tried bending them 30 degrees, but that was actually too much. It made the harness bar too long. So I reduced the angle to 20 degrees, and that was just about perfect. Unfortunately, some of the paint chipped off when I bent the brackets, so they need to be repainted, but I'll do that later. I test fitted the harness bar again and found another problem. The bar was sitting too high. Ideally, the bar would be at shoulder height or slightly lower, but it was noticeably higher than shoulder level. I had the support braces adjusted as short as they would go, and they were still too long, so I need to shorten them. Those support braces are just pieces of pipe with threaded ends welded on. So I should be able to cut the welds and remove the ends. Then I can shorten the pipe and weld the end back on. You know what? I think it's time for a montage. Those welds aren't the prettiest, but they should be structurally sound. Let's throw a couple coats of paint on it and toss this thing back in the car. Oh, and let's not forget those mounting brackets. I cleaned them up and repainted those too. And I let the paint dry overnight. Okay, let's install the harness bar for real this time. First, I'll attach the mounting brackets. The bolts that came with the harness bar didn't fit, so I reused the stock bolts. The holes in the mounting brackets had to be reamed out a little bit to make them fit. Then we attach the harness bar to the brackets. And then we attach the support braces to the bar. And we watch the seatbelt adjuster mechanism crank itself all the way up. And finally, we attach the bottom of the support brackets to the bottom seatbelt mounting holes. Once again, the hardware that came with the bar didn't fit, so I found something in my nut and bolt collection. Also, I disassembled the seat mounting brackets and rounded off all the sharp edges. Then I reassembled the brackets and reinstalled the seat. Unfortunately, the seat has to come right back out because of this. Apparently some water got in the car and started rusting the floorboards, so we need to deal with that before it becomes a major issue. But we'll talk about that in the next video. Thanks for watching.